figures it out in itself.
So, waiting on Ray or Sean.
Doing pretty good. You know, it's on the wall, so just busy. How about yourself? Yeah, right?
Do you want me to go there?
Yeah,
Or wherever this thing
we're
moves around.
Okay.
Yeah, I see some of those. That last weekend.
Yeah,
So
that's
some of the blow from last week to this week. So.
Right, I know there were a few versions.
This one was 214.
For sure it is, it's the one we sent.
Oh,
We're gonna see.
okay. Are you looking for like more of like a diverse offering of foods or?
Yeah.
No, I'm.
Okay.
One more number.
Yeah, there's a percentage, kind of
It's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a shame just not.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well, it's kind of, it's not.
I would say it's very shallow still.
Yeah. No, yeah, we got the squares, like everyone's gotta use these squares, we just gotta get them up.
Yes, okay, oh, okay.
Good, good.
They'll feedback too.
Oh, sorry, you doing this?
Need to have this all ready to go.
Actually, I don't want you to do a whole.
Yeah.
Sure. You make it very brief. Super brief. Okay. So different than how we did. Yeah.
Okay. Oh. Yeah.
It's easy.
Yes, I talked to Carla. So
You're more like, you're a little more high tech than each other on this.
so she made a comment. Good thing our contest.
Yeah,
So I talked to her.
it works well. Do it again. If not, then you learn.
Oh.
Yeah, right. No, I'm working with overtime.
We'll see.
What was the response? I didn't see a response.
I think
They're, Dwayne reached out to me. It's a good candidate for sure. Yeah. So it's like a start.
Like, I thought that is like right across.
Yeah.
Like, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Which works because Michigan didn't want to, it's not, or they didn't want to use that. But we, so that makes sense for them.
No, kind of like.
Middleton, or the CRA. Yeah. Okay, so I'll be back.
I can't change that right before. dude.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't remember.
Okay, all right. And so that makes good.
Yeah, you'll have to look out for it.
No, I'm here all the time. It's fine. Just
Are you going to
confirm
get
that,
it? Or-
because they know, that was the application, we sent it back last week. It was just confirming there was
Okay.
stuff. All good.
We're in the local community, right?
Can you hear us?
Yes,
Okay, just confirming Diego's on the agenda 3:13.
You're good. I'm not
Still?
in the rush. You can.
yes.
Okay, great.
Because he'll be in person.
Okay, great.
Sorry, we need one more member for quorum, so Sean or Ray should be here hopefully very soon. Until then, enjoy our friends.
Yeah.
Free entertainment.
Yeah.
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 Like the chanting.
Horses definitely get tired after a while, I'd say. It's like going to a concert.
Is there a Wi-Fi password?
Rainbows.
Is it COT likely?
Yeah, it's all lowercase, Ray Bose. Hey, Ray.
Hey, Eric, you guys doing? I'm sorry. You guys
Doug.
Love that side of it.
don't- Did you?
You gonna go to that and get together?
Yes,
Okay,
I
good.
will be there, yes.
All right, we can start. We have our quorum.
Right, and I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. 5:36 PM. And we'll start with public comment. No public comment? I'm sure. I think they're only. All right, so then we'll move on to, I guess I should take attendance. Dustin Pastor. Mary Beth Williams. Yes. Sean. Yep. Ray,
Present.
Casey,
Present.
and Ryan.
Present.
All right, we do have a quorum. So the first item on the agenda that requires action is the approval of the January 2025 minutes that Courtney sent out last week. Does anybody have any corrections or comments on the minutes? Okay. None heard. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
PC makes a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Ray seconds the motion to approve the January 2025 minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The minutes of the January 2025 meeting of the CRA CAC pass unanimously. Courtney, do you want to handle the vote?
Yeah, so I just wanted to receive confirmation that everyone's okay, that Mary Beth is serving as chair. She stepped up when Dan stepped aside. And so Mary Beth has been acting as chair, but we never really made an official motion of it. She's kind of moved up into that position. So if I could just get a motion, please, just so we have it on record that the CAC is okay with Mary Beth running this team.
If you would like it, you may have it.
I would like to put a motion in for Mary Beth Williams to take over the role of chair of the downtown CAC. We need a second.
And I will second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Mary Beth.
Congratulations.
All righty. As far as presentations goes, Captain Dan.
Oh, actually, let's do vice chair.
Oh, vice chair. Okay, that's right. Dustin is not here,
Yeah.
but in his absence, we're going to, I would like to make a motion to nominate Dustin Pastor to serve as the vice chair of the downtown CRA CAC.
I apologize, just as a point of clarification, is that to nominate him or is that to formally accept him as the vice chair?
Formally accept him as the vice chair.
Do we need to amend the motion?
No, we're doing two separate motions, one for chair, one for vice chair.
Yes, but I said to nominate him, so then
Oh, okay.
I'll just rephrase my
Oh, okay.
my motion. So I would like to motion to approve Dustin Pastor to serve as the vice chair of the downtown CRA CAC.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Dustin. I'll text him and let him know.
And he's not gonna be blindsided.
No,
He served on the
He knew.
team for a while.
What?
Yeah,
What happens when you're absent?
yeah.
Captain College, you are up with the TPD updates.
Did you ever catch a flight or something?
I have some time. I think I'll go off video as what the court needs.
I don't mind staying, so.
I'm fine. I have a, yeah, I just need to leave before 7, so I have some.
Okay. So what I'd like to, well, first of all, I think things downtown are going well. We had some, on the north end, we had some auto burglaries going on, but we arrested the person who feels responsible, and it's a juvenile, but we were able to have them committed for the 21 days, which is the max that we can do. So hopefully that will help reduce those crimes. There hasn't really been any violent crime in the downtown area. Obviously, it's busy, especially on the weekends. We're seeing more and more attendance downtown. We're dealing with the homeless issue. We're currently putting together some projects to try to offer more services, have them accept services willingly, and just deal with that issue, which I think every urban area in this nation is dealing with, and nobody yet has come up with a perfect solution. So we're trying. I don't think our issue is as bad as some other, cities in this country. March 15th coming up, St. Patrick's Day Parade downtown. We're staffing that. We're anticipating the same attendance as last year. Obviously, it deviated from having the parade in Ybor. Now it's downtown. We're continuing that to coincide with the river green. So I think it went well last year. We didn't have any issues. I anticipate that this year. I don't have a complete proposal completed for. Did I say complete or completed in the same sense? I'm sorry. I'm working on the proposal. I spoke with my chief. He supports it. He just wants to see it before I present it. So what I'd like some feedback from the group on staffing, because I could throw darts and guess at what the opportune times are for staffing, but I'd like to give several options to the group. So does anybody want to provide feedback on when they think would be best to enhance coverage? Downtown, there's different issues downtown at different times of day. There's rush hour, there's traffic issues. On the weekend, there's events going on at Curtis Hickson, Water Street, so Channel Side, Scarper and Wharf. So I'm open to any feedback on when, because if we just go say 24/7, that's irresponsible. That's spending money recklessly. But I want to be as efficient as possible, but still provide adequate coverage with the option we can scale up or down, but I'd like to at least get a baseline and a work on it. So I would think like on the weekends, obviously it's busy. We know that. So additional staffing would be, I would think, not necessarily early morning unless there's significant event, but more afternoon into the dinner time hours. And except for armature works, Riverwalk and everything kind of slows down around 9:30, 10 o'clock. So I was kind of looking at that. And during the week, you tell me, it's all office workers for the most part, grabbing lunch and moving around pedestrian traffic. But I also know that Riverwalk now is also popular for after work, people riding bikes, walking, bringing their families along. So any ideas, suggestions on hours?
What general area, or maybe you could sort of give us a little bit of an idea of what you guys, it's hard to even like concentrate a little bit, but areas, do you have any suggestions that you guys have begun to evaluate? Like for me, that those evening hours, like, what you mentioned, like that dinner time crowd, starting like at sunset, going into like, later on in the evening, that sort of makes sense. But is there anything specifically that you guys have noted as something that might make sense?
Well, so, and this is not scientific, this is Dan College speaking. And we've all noticed that several years ago downtown, there wasn't much activity unless there was an event at the arena or Curtis Hickson or Estrada's. And then it became, there's a lot more events, so there's a lot more growth. And now, just my personal feeling is that I think now people come downtown looking for something because there is so much more available to them without a plan, without tickets, or let's just go downtown and find something to do. I think we're seeing that because I'm getting phone calls from, my chiefs, like, there's a lot of people downtown. Yeah, there is. There's things going on. JW, Marriott, they always have conferences going on. We have to kind of partner with them with the arena because that footprint is very, very dense. It prevents a lot of challenges traffic-wise, but I'm limited, and correct me if I'm wrong, by the core and non-core of the CRA. So really, it's vast. It's to the tip of Harbor Island up to just the edge of Tampa Heights and includes the Riverwalk and a large portion over east of downtown. So coverage areas, is great, but there's focus areas. Water Street on busy nights, Sparkman Wharf. There's a sporting event. There's a watch party. Obviously the arena, they provide their own extra duty staff. But I'm limited, when it's not a specific event or co-sponsored event, it's just something that happens like Riverwalk and pedestrian traffic. Like I have officers that cover that, but not a whole lot. So we're trying to be more innovative and increase and enhance that coverage, provide more access to police officers by using like a side-by-side vehicle versus police car with rolled up windows where they're visible. They can get places quickly, they can cover a lot of area. They can access areas that you can't on car, and you could access those areas on foot, but you're limited like getting back and forth.
Yeah, part of the reason I was asking is because to me personally, those areas where there's a higher presence of just visitors, just people, naturally feel safer as opposed to, for example, Courtney, we were out in
Kid Mason.
and then also the Massey Park thing, like
Oh, okay.
that sort of like Franklin Street corridor area. Again, just because there's less people, generally speaking, just walking around.
Right.
Feels a little bit like I was there and I was like kind of looking over my shoulder a little bit, which I don't do anywhere else. For example, you mentioned Water Street and Channel Side and Harbor Island. I would feel comfortable walking through those areas late at night with my 14-year-old and not think twice, but that area, that Franklin Street corridor, that's, I wouldn't say like sketchy, but it's definitely just less people walking around. So.
I'd add to that, like generally, Thursday through Sunday, it seems to be that it's the weekend,
Right.
people are starting to think about the weekend, they're coming down 7 p.m. right at sunset, but to echo your point, where there are multiple people, large groups of people, you feel generally safer, but there is some activity, around like Gasparilla Plaza and then, in the evening hours with that bike group, but they're not necessarily breaking laws, just making people feel comfortable. That being said, I think, if there's an event at the Straz or down Water Street, they're already providing for additional security. So I'd hate to overdo it and put that additional officer there. I'd rather want them on Morgan by Oaklawn Sanitary or in that general, basically north of Cass from Franklin over to the edge of the core boundaries, kind of like that hotspot area. Of course, they're going to patrol everywhere, but that seems to be the area that there's not going to be MOT with additional security. There's not going to be large groups of people walking, and that's where people would like to feel that additional presence. In addition to the Riverwalk, generally too, because just when there's so many folks in the Riverwalk, there tends to get a little squirrely, and then every now and then to have an officer respond appropriately time-wise is always good too.
Yeah, in the early evening, I have more resources because there's overlap of patrol squads.
Yeah.
So I can definitely address those issues with more flexibility.
Yeah.
Daytime, I'm limited with resources. And really nights, I'm good with coverage up until what depends on the Ebor night, because one of my squads I have to send to Ebor on a Friday and Saturday night. So I lose down to Ebor, but I have a downtown squad that covers overnight.
A little bit of a tangent, and Chair or Courtney keep us on track. The partnership is planning on doing kind of a nighttime activity report, just because we're now this downtown that's 24 hours, especially on Franklin Street. There's several nightclubs. You walk past Dio's at 9 p.m. and it is a club. You feel like you're in a movie Birdcage or something. They're out on the street,
Yeah.
and then there's usually police officers parked right there. But we do, that's something that we're going to actively pursue in the coming months. And so we'll happily give you that information and kind of say, here are some. You probably know where the activity generators are, but here maybe some of the other things of these businesses that are open till 2, 3 a.m. Keep into consideration. But I think that pinch point for the most part is that 7 p.m. to 11, and then that nighttime kind of crowd is kind of used to that kind of activity, and then you've got coverage there.
The only other thing that I would add, speaking on behalf of the Riverwalk, is if there's any way we can schedule regular patrols. I know that there's oftentimes bike units that are out there, but sometimes they're riding not just two to a pack. Maybe there's 4, maybe there's 6. And I think if we spread them out and they were a little more regular, maybe we would.
You talk about police officers? I don't disagree.
I don't know how to I witnessed it, so I just, I
No,
don't know
I-
what the solution is.
I deal with it in Newport too, because I twist arms to get them in Newport as well. So,
And I think the Riverwalk isn't necessarily, it could be anytime, because there could be people that are just out in the morning walking, and then there's fast bicycles that are coming by.
Yeah.
Right now, we have an issue, and I don't know if you're aware of it, I'm sitting in city legal, I'm working with Parks and Rec, is that Tampa Bay Rides group that has those little mall animals where they're selling tours on the Riverwalk, which is illegal. You cannot commercialize public property. And they've been told to stop and they won't stop. So I think there's a cease and desist.
I saw them for the first time on Water Street a couple weeks ago, just during the day.
It is posted, no, motorized vehicles on the Riverwalk, so they shouldn't be there. But I think if there was an increased presence, that would happen. And he's doing it. He told Yacht Starship, I'm going to do it till I get caught. And he was told, and he had his lawyer call and basically argue. So I think it's just increased presence.
No, presence helps. I've learned that anymore, but I'm not a big fan of just throwing officers at problems because sometimes that's not efficient or effective. But tastefully done, we've seen dramatic improvement in the board just by we found a sweet spot of number of officers deployed on Friday, Saturday night, and it's helped tremendously. Crime is significantly down, profits are up. Attendance isn't as high on Fridays, but Saturdays have been pretty robust with attendance because we're doing occupancy checks. And I can compare those numbers every Sunday morning. I look and the clubs are doing good business. So, and speaking with business owners, I had one of them told me during the St. Iago parade, he had the best year ever in 18 years that I've been here. So presence does help, but I want it to be a friendly presence. Like I want the officers to be approachable, and that would be my task and direction would be like, you're the ambassador. You wear a gun belt, but you're also ambassador for the city. When people have questions, and we have a lot of visitors now from out of the area, like provide the information. They'll just turn or walk away. I would hate that because as cops, we do that when we go to the cities. Like, I don't like doing it because I try to escape from wearing a uniform. But you go to a city or something like, hey, dude, bring me get a good slice of pizza. Like, where's the best Irish bar or something like that? It's done. And I want officers to be like that as well, as we should. I haven't heard anything negative. It's always good, but whoever, like, if we get this through, like, these officers would be happy. I don't want the person just trying to collect money and not go to work. It'll be the right people in the right seats.
Have we provided enough information for you in this conversation? Do you need additional information to complete the proposal?
No, I think I have enough. I don't like to act like I know everything. With my officers, they know the streets, I don't, but I use what's on my collar to get the resources they need. So I ask them, and That's why I'm asking you guys, like, I could guess, I think I have a pretty good idea, but I accept all feedback.
Have you talked to Parks and Rec, the Parks and Rec team specifically, the one out here on Curtis 6, just because I feel like their guys are on their block all the time and probably have a lot of information that they may be able to share in terms of how to distribute resources.
No, I think it's a great idea. Because they have the ground truth, they're there all the time.
And we talked about a collaboration between the Tampa Police Department, between the partnership ambassadors, even between the Parks and Rec staff, how do we all work together to help educate people on the appropriate way to utilize the Riverwalk?
No, that's a fantastic idea. I'm gonna take note on that.
Anything else that you'd like to add?
Any questions, any concerns? Any rumors you want me to start?
Thank you, Captain.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to skip down to C, and Diego is here to provide us an update on the LD&D affordable housing proposal.
Pleasure meeting or seeing everyone again. It's been a little time since I last came. I will give you guys an update on where we are with our project as well as with our workforce housing component of the project specifically. I think I last presented to the downtown CAC maybe a little bit over a year ago. Thereafter, went to CRA board and they had some feedback that they wanted us to address. So I'll talk through that. How we've incorporated some of that feedback. Fortunately for purposes of this discussion, the new proposal that we're going to the CRA board with next week is a much better improved proposal than what we had originally proposed. So it definitely twisted our arm. I think it should be an easy discussion here, but I'll give you guys a comprehensive update on the project and where we are since I do see some familiar faces. So just as a refresher, this is our project. We're in Encore, we're lot 10. We're developing a project that has 360 multifamily units, so for rent, as well as about 40,000 square feet of retail. And I think a lot of the retail, we should be announcing one of our retail tenants soon, which will be very exciting. Should help with getting some eyes on the street as well. Some of the concerns that I guess just brought up. So it'll definitely bring a lot of activity to this area. But this is a project. It's on the north portion of the site. There's also a hotel component. We have a partner on that hotel component. That's really not part of the conversation today, but just for reference, the hotel is an Element by Westin, similar to the one that's in Midtown Tampa. So same brand, Marriott brand. That'll be great for this neighborhood. And then this is our project. So you guys can see how it integrates into the broader downtown area. What's unique about our project relative to the rest of Encore is that there's actually a zoning line that bisects our lot. So we're technically in the central business district. We're not in Encore, at least not the residential component. It's not in the PB, it's in the, and that's why we can go as high as we're going. So it'll be 27 stories. We're fully site plan approved. We're almost done with our drawings. We're, I say, within 2 months of breaking ground. So this is the last component of the project that we're really trying to get a grasp on at this point. You guys may have seen some more signage if you drove past the lot. We're right next to Late Start Brewing, and I think the success that they've been having speaks to the demand that there's in that area for more retail and more residential and so forth. Just a little background on us. We're a Miami-based development firm. We're, I want to say, a boutique development firm. We've been active in South Florida. This is our first project in the Tampa Bay area. We now have another project in downtown St. Petersburg as well, but this project on Ash Street is our first one here. We have had a very successful experience working with CRAs in the past, and I won't get into too much detail on these two, but these are two examples of deals we have done with the CRA in different municipalities. This one, Wynwood House, is in Miami. It's in the Almy CRA next to Wynwood. This is in downtown West Palm Beach. So the Miami one is a perfect example of what we want to do here. It's a mixed income building, so there's both market rate units as well as workforce housing units ranging from 100 to 140% of AMI. And it's been a very successful project. It's fully leased. It's some of the, I want to say, incredibly, we get some of the highest rents in the market, but at the same time, there's that affordability component that you do get a mixed income nature of the project. So a lot of walks of life, and I think that provides a much more vibrant and interesting experience for everyone. So I think it's been an overall success in every front. For reference, this is where we are for the start here. We think it's a very strategic plot for the broader downtown Tampa for many reasons. I mean, we truly think this is a hole in the donut. So if you look around us, downtown, Water Street, Channel District, Gasworks, Seaboard, Tampa Heights, everything is kind of really merging with each other, just given the rapid growth that Tampa's having. And we're at the center of it all, and it's now a little quiet. I think some of that was brought up earlier in the discussion tonight, and we want to add to the connectivity of this broader downtown, so it'll all be really integrated. But yeah, you can see how the growth is really catching up from every direction. Obviously, Gasworks here in number 4, Milk Creek number 2, they're already topped off. That project is advancing nicely. The hotel here, number 1, Turkey Hotel number 3. That's going to have a grocer and medical office, so that'll be a great neighbor to have as well. Just breeze through some of these renderings, but to summarize, our previous proposal that we presented to the CRA about a year ago was for 40 workforce housing units. Those range from studios to 2 bedrooms, and they range from 80 to 140% of AMI. And the ask that we had from the CRA was for 50% of the TIF plus a $7.5 million grant. The duration of the rent restriction period on the workforce housing units would match the life of the CRA, so through 2043. And the units were broken out across the different AMIs and across different unit types. I think generally the feedback that we got from the CRA board was surprisingly still positive. They asked us to come back just to revise our proposal. And their feedback was to minimize TIF. They did not want the TIF to be a part of this proposal, to increase our rent restriction period, so ideally to 50 years, and then to focus on 80% of AMI units, which are the most important to the CRA board. And then just to try to improve our cost per unit for the CRA so that the rent that we're asking for buys more in terms of affordability. Obviously, the challenge that we have is that the rents in downtown keep increasing, and we need to make this deal work not only for the CRA, but also for our lender and our investors. So it's just a delicate balancing act. For reference, this is where rents in downtown are right now. And I know a lot of you guys may have heard about a softening of rents in Tampa. Surprisingly, that's not happening in downtown. That's happened in the suburbs. That's happened in Wesley Chapel. Downtown still has experienced positive rent growth year over year. So you look at Asher, Cora, Heron, and now AER, which we think are our most comparable projects. They've all managed to grow the rents over the last year. So studios are now going for about $2,400 per month. 1 bedroom's $3,100, and 2 bedrooms $4,500. And the AMI rents, in relation to that, you can see what they are here. So at 80% of AMI, on the studio, the most we can charge is only $1,400 per month. On the 1 bedroom, it's about the same. It's negligible to change. And then on 2 bedroom, it's $1,700 per month. So the delta versus the market rate on some of these is very big. It's less than 2/3 of what the market rate is. So if you look at 80% of AMI, what we're leaving on the table to try to include some of these workforce housing units, it's over $1,000 for studios, almost $1,700 for 1 bedrooms. And when you get to 2 bedrooms, it's a very high number. It's almost $3,000. And even at 140% of AMI, on some of the smaller units, the studios, the delta isn't as big. It obviously keeps increasing as you get into the 1 bedrooms and the 2 bedrooms. By the time you get to 2 bedrooms, it's still a huge delta. It's $1,500. So the maximum rent we can charge at 140% of AMI on 2 bedrooms is $3,000 versus a market rate of $4,500. So that's a challenge that we've been dealing with. And in the background happening simultaneous with us trying to revise our proposal, I think the CRA staff has been very pioneering in coming up with new guidelines for these workforce housing units in order to receive some sort of grant or incentive, whatever it is from the CRA, what they want to see in terms of rent restriction period, as well as what subsidy they'd be able to provide in order to offset some of those rent losses. So I'm happy to summarize our new proposal and say that it complies with the new rent guidelines that the CRA staff has come up with. So the new proposal is now for 30 units. The units range from studios to 2 bedrooms, where most of our units are now at 80% of AMI, whereas before we only had a couple at 80% of AMI. So we're really focusing on this bracket. That is what the CRA board wanted us to focus on. We're not asking for any TIF. We're asking for a $5.4 million grant, down from a $7.5 million grant before. The grant would be paid as the construction of the project advances, so it's used to offset some of the construction costs. Again, it's spread from studios to 2-bedroom units. And the rent, most importantly, the rent restriction period now is 50 years as opposed to the life of the CRA. So it's a much longer rent restriction period. So comparing side by side our previous proposal, which was over 20 years, versus our revised proposal, which is now over 50 years, we've added 30 years to the rent restriction period. The total number of affordable units, we reduced it from 40 to 30, but obviously our ask was reduced a lot as well. The units are at 80% of AMI. Before we only had 2, now we have 16, so over half of the units in our proposal. The grant went down from $7.5 million to $5.4 million, so a decrease of $2.1 million. And we're not asking for any TIF, so 0 TIF, which the TIF last time amounted to another almost $7.5 million. So when you do the math on our ask now per unit per month, before we were asking for a subsidy of $1,500 per unit per month to offset these workforce housing units, now it's $300. So it's an 80% decrease in the CRA's contribution per month. And even these $300 that the CRA would be contributing, when you compare that to some of the reduction in the rent for these units, it's very meaningful. So the CRA is contributing $300 per month to bring a buy down, or whatever terminology you want to use on these units. And in exchange, we're restricting, say, just an example, on a studio at 80% of AMI, we're rent restricting the rent at $1,300 approximately instead of $2,400. So it's $1,000 that we're reducing on the market rent in exchange for $300 from the CRA. So obviously we've chipped in a lot from our end, and the CRA is chipping in from their end with the $300 as well. And we do think this will help offset the crisis that downtown Tampa really has when it comes to workforce affordable housing. So I think that's a summary of our proposal. This is really just meant to be an update for the CAC. You guys were very generous in supporting us last time, so obviously continue to ask for that support, and we'll be presenting to the CRA board next Thursday.
So I'm clarifying this, you haven't presented to the CRA yet,
We presented once, and
but you haven't presented the
this
revised.
new proposal would come out. And the reason there was a large gap between when we last presented, which was over a year ago, till now, is because the CRA staff was working through some of these guidelines, and they wanted to make sure that we met the new parameters of what their guidelines are. A couple of other minor things. No, we are entitled as of right. We're not trying to qualify, double dip, call it, like qualify these units to also meet any zoning requirements that we have. Our project is market rate as of right. All of these units would have access to the same amenities, same finishes as our regular units, so there's no workforce housing versus market rate differences. So it's the idea is, again, just to have a mixed income community. And I won't go into detail through this, but we do think this aligns with both the CRA's vision and mission statement that we presented. So I'll open up the floor to any questions.
I have a couple. Do you know how much parking spaces you're providing?
Yeah, we're actually providing a lot of parking.
Yeah.
It's about 576 parking spots. And we do have some meaningful retail. So the parking is, obviously, part of it is gonna go towards the retail. But even when you adjust for how much the retail will utilize, it's plenty of parking. And that is, we want it to be, we're always trying to push it to be as aggressive as we can on the parking, but realizing that this partially is driven by Orlando, that Tampa still very much driving to.
Yeah. And that 576 includes the parking required for the hotel too, right? Or is that just for?
That includes for the
Okay.
so we're building the parking.
And that's that's over what was the, do you know off the top what the parking required was versus provided? I know we're way too late past this point in terms of like development.
Not just the top of my head, but we're
Over,
exceeding the requirement.
I just suggest always to unbundle parking from base rent. If they don't have a car, why should we be subsidizing a parking space if they're not utilizing it? I'd also stress on the retail side of things to look at smaller bays. We have a lot of 2,000 to 5,000 to 10,000 square feet of retail. We don't have these small turnkey retail spaces for small businesses and incubators. We have lots of unfinished large spaces for food and beverage, and especially in the Encore development, which is outside of the downtown CRA. So it's a little, we're stretching outside our boundaries, but they do need more food and beverage, but they also need dry goods, things like that. And all downtown as a whole does too. We have a lot of food and beverage.
Yeah, fully agree and fully hear you, both things. On the parking, yeah, we always structure it that way, so it's a disincentive to have a car. We are, the retail is meaningful, and we're gonna have a charging station at our site as well. Obviously, we're building parking for the hotel as well, so that's why the parking deck is large. That being said, we've tried to build art and make the parking deck as interesting as possible so that it goes somewhat noticed. And then on the retail side, separating the hotel from the multifamily and the parking deck, we are building this really cool pedestrian walkway that we're not required to do. We just thought it would be a great amenity for the neighborhood. And this actually, if you guys are familiar with Encore, this ends at the Butterfly Garden. So if you walk through here, you'll come out of the Butterfly Garden. And we are going to have a large, call it national type tenant on some of our retail. And that's obviously to try to get people to go there. But all of the retail that's fronting this pedestrian walkway, we're reserving for those smaller bay tenants. So the idea is they come for the larger anchor tenant, and then they go to these smaller or entrepreneurial type retail tenants.
That tenant rhymes with.
Well, we'll do a press release on that soon. At least we can share the flag on the hotel, which is an element by West. I think it works very well for the neighborhood.
I think this is a great proposal. Obviously, I love the emphasis on 80% AMI. That's where the most impact is going to be. Which you can just see from the rent prices, 140% is below market, but 80% is well below market. It's much more realistic to be called workforce or affordable housing. Wondering if you have any sustainability goals for the project, or if you're doing any LEED certification or green building certifications?
Yeah, we're looking into GSBC. Our experience with LEED, I'm sure you guys may have heard, it's a lot of marketing, not necessarily as, so it's very expensive and it's not necessarily as, a lot of the requirements for LEED Silver are already met by the standard Florida zoning code. So we are looking into a similar green certification. We are going to have a lot of EV charging. So there's definitely a sustainability aspect that we're looking into as well. And on the hotel side, I know you guys are familiar with Element from Weston, but it is their sustainable brand. So it's a cool brand in that no bottled water, it's all paper. It's kind of the push on that brand. It's a strong sustainable brand. So that's why we also thought it would be a cool brand here.
Yeah, I want to sort of echo that as well. I think it's commend you guys with being able to step up and get the numbers to work. It feels like a pretty aggressive ask, from the CRA. So the fact that you were able to get there is bodes well for you guys. And then I would say also that, to me, when I think of highest and best use for that area, a project like this is very much in line, I think, with what a lot of us would be looking for and wanting for an area for that area, in terms of revitalizing it and getting people, to activate that area. So it's hard to see like any downside to this, but kudos.
We appreciate it. We've been working on this for 3 years now, so it's taken some iterations, but I think we're finally getting it someplace that seems to be good.
Don't skip up the bike room. You're gonna have a lot of people who are gonna take advantage of that cycle track right there.
No, yeah.
Some of the ones in gas works, the bike room is already full and they're not even 50% lost.
That's great to hear. Our bike room actually opens just outside of C here, so it has direct access from the street, and it's a sizable bike room. So
Do you know how many planned spaces in there yet?
it's something like 200. So yeah, it's a healthy amount for 360 units. Yeah, we're trying to discourage people from also putting them up on their balconies, which takes away from a little bit of the architecture of it. Other questions, comments?
I just wanted the group to hear the presentation because was a huge update revision to what was presented previously. So I didn't want this group to not hear it before the CRA board did it. So I'm glad to hear everyone's positive feedback. So we'll wish them luck.
Do we need to make a motion?
No, this wasn't specific to that. This was just, I wanted to, as a courtesy for DA there to provide an update to the group. And so that way, if the CRA board does ask if the CAC was informed of the revisions that the CRA board did request at their presentation to the CRA board, December 2023, that you were informed of it. So that was it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for the time. Thank you.
Can I step in, Courtney, real quick? Hi, everyone. B Parks, Community Development Coordinator. I just wanted to emphasize my excitement for the response. The matrix, that housing matrix or perimeters that Diego was referencing, was presented January 16th to the board, where they accepted it. We adopted it. So that's very exciting. So it gives a perimeter that the city never had before, which is the maximum request that developers can come in and ask of, the CRA. So that's extremely important that we set that. And to add about CRA support for this specific project, we did already speak to some of them, and I make rounds prior to the meeting to each one of them individually to again present what we're going to do publicly, get some feedback from them, and then continue on from there. So again, I'm happy for the response, and yeah, we're moving forward with the March 13th date. Thank you all. Just wanted to put that comment out there.
Thank you, B.
Thank you, B, and thank you and Courtney for all the patience you've had working with us over the last year. So we're excited about this.
Their patience.
Yeah, we're excited.
So we'll get Helen, so next Thursday. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And then I'll close out here.
You need to close this out?
Yeah, you can just close it out. We'll just, yep, there we go.
You can share that with us.
That's what I didn't know if I should share it before the CRA board actually sees it. That's why I didn't print it. I didn't want
I can send
to.
you their building permit if you want.
It's up to you, B. If I can share it with the group, I didn't know if I should do that or wait until after the CRA board presentation.
Listen, it's public it's gonna be public record anyway, so I will say go ahead and share it. And then yeah, invite any not to say anything regarding Diego, but again, these are perimeters for developers. So I've been in contact with developers in channel that's gonna follow this as well, and they've been knocking on the door. So I'm excited about that. And again, if you know anyone interested, please let them know. And yeah, you could go ahead and share it. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Run out to catch my flight. Thank you.
Easy, 275 smart.
See you next week. Thank you.
Right, so it looks like next up is the streetcar free fare grant expiration, and Justin, here to present.
Well, Justin,
Justin is not.
yes, I didn't know.
Justin T.
I was Justin.
Thank you. I'm Michael English. I'm the chair of the streetcar board. And with me are two colleagues from Hart. Introduce yourselves.
Frank Wazinski, with Hart Marketing.
Donnie Mary with Hart Community Engagement.
Actually, the new director of marketing.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is an ask, and I'll be brief in my presentation. And before I start, you have a copy of a PowerPoint in your package. These gentlemen can show you this presentation if you want to see it after I tell you this, my part of the story, or not. Please maybe. I think most of you know that 6 years ago, the streetcar system was carrying 450,000 people, $2.50 fare. We could only afford to run 4 cars at a time, which meant 20-minute headways. Everybody hated 20-minute headways. They hated the fare. And David Gwynn, who's just now stepping down as the secretary of District 7 DOT, said to us, "We're going to give you $1 million a year for 3 years, and the rules have to be has to be free, 15-minute headways, full morning service, and re-extend your evening hours." And we did that, and this past year our ridership was over 1.3 million people, and everybody loves it. And so we had that money for 3 years, and then that stopped, and they did give us $700,000 a year for the next 2 years, which the city had to match. The city is financially responsible for the system. You don't know that. CARD operates it. The THS board is kind of the mediator in the middle. This past year, that money ended, and so we're short about $700,000. And so we're here tonight to ask you all for your consideration for an additional contribution from your CRA of $233,000. That's the long short of it. So, CARD did do an extensive public involvement survey, which is outlined in this package you have. And a number of things became very clear. Instituting fairs would be expensive to start with because you have to have electronic equipment and use an app. Nobody liked the idea. I mean, nobody wants fairs to come back, but it would also have forced her to go back to only using 4 cars, which is 20 minutes anyways, because of the lines and the people waiting to pay. So that's the short answer of the PowerPoint. We really don't want to go back to fairs, and both the city and HARD and we are all looking for ways to increase revenue for the streetcar system and keep it free. If we can do that, I think the city is committed to the extension, which is about more than halfway through design, and I think that they're about to kickstart the final part of design with the extension of where it ends at Footbrook north to at least Palm Avenue. The ridership projections for that are outrageously high, but it's an expensive project, and we would be building it today if the offer of transportation approval had not been challenged in court by a former county commissioner. Be that as it may, we think that day will come again soon. So that's kind of where we're at. Can we answer any questions?
And I just have one thing additional too. I just don't want to get too much into the minutia on it, but if you look at page 6, the slide 11, the options to address the budget shortfall. I'm not going to walk you through the whole thing, but just to point out, even if we did implement a fare, we're still short. We still require additional funding. So it's kind of a thing where, you know, really we'd love to just keep the streetcar free, right? So from a boarding standpoint, it helps with boarding the streetcar efficiently. When you think about obviously just the on and off ability for the user, the customer experience, it helps without a fare there. You know, in the development along the line, it's only continuing to blow up. So. And one thing to clarify too, the funding request, that should actually, it's all the same. So each CRA is actually paying 233, so that's not quite right. Just to clarify. Or would be if they ask.
And they did present to EBOR CC already, which supported the request.
Got it.
Oh, I guess my math.
People wanted to.
It was supported. Yeah, so Channel District would be next because where the streetcar line runs and who already supports it is EBOR, Channel District, and downtown. So that 700,000 was broken into thirds, with EBOR actually paying an extra $1,000. So it's 233, 233, 234, and we do have the funding that we could use from neighborhood infrastructure and improvements. And in my mind, I'm thinking when we went through the budget process last year, we didn't account for the interest money that we would be getting because we receive interest money every year. And so we just in February received the interest money of $1.1 million. So that was, you know, we never know exactly what it's going to be, but the total was 1.1 million. So their ask today is still under what we received for the interest. So their ask today is $233,000, which that interest goes into the neighborhood infrastructure line item. So that's why I was suggesting we pull from that, which is essentially the interest money that just went in.
That's what you have highlighted in the budget.
That's why I highlighted it. Yeah, we have 4 million on there, but there's more to go into that to increase it another 1.1 million when it actually is like deposited into that line item. So there's sufficient funding in there.
And that would be for fiscal year 20, this current year, 2025.
Yeah, so THS, they had to pass a budget shortfall essentially. So that's what we're trying to cover.
And this would basically in a year from now, we're doing the same dance again. Technically, not as a bad, just asking the question.
I mean,
What was the question?
In each year, this would be a motion just for this current year. We
Correct,
do the dance
correct.
again next year.
You need an assumption.
I like seeing you guys.
we hope that's not the case,
Yeah.
but obviously. things that are not-
And this would still require a fair, you're saying?
No. So to clarify this, so if the CRA is all approved the additional funding, we're okay not charging for it. So this fiscal year.
Do you feel that, not having the free rides would jeopardize the streetcar expansion because it's gonna hurt our ridership and the story behind that? Or do you think it's more-
I think so.
I think the initial intention of the grant was originally to grow ridership on the corridor, and it's worked. And so, yeah, I know planning has done a little bit of we don't have that here, and I don't have that offhand, but I know planning has done a little bit of like elasticity of the ridership. Actually, wait,
I think overall it
Yeah.
impacts it, right? Like if you have less ridership,
Yeah.
your case for getting any sort of federal funding, whether it's extension or whatnot, is going to be impacted, no matter what.
and just to add to that as well, this is on the hard side of it, the bus side of it. Well, that's also a corridor that we're looking for bus rapid transit as well, to and stuff. And so, when we're talking about a premium transit corridor, essentially, that's what, that ridership also impacts, well, I would assume in some way that project as well.
Shouldn't Ybor be taking more? Aren't they getting the business benefits from streetcar more than downtown?
I'd say that's it's back and forth a pretty good bid. There's.
And one thing,
Could you guys say how many stops are within, I know the downtown CRA is probably, what, we're at 4 stops from the downtown CRA?
Yeah.
Green Channel District.
and one thing, it's hard to tell, but one thing that was very interesting when we did do the public input, we did a full customer rider survey.
Yeah.
You can't see, but the big blob is actually downtown respondents. And so Ybor is obviously second, but actually the one thing that's grown over time is that downtown residents were actually the number one to beat. So, if we would have done this 6 years ago, I mean, you're talking tourists, you're talking, so the who uses the streetcar, we also have in there as well. It's mostly residents and those that live in the area. So it's a huge drastic difference from years ago.
When we opened the streetcar system, there was nobody living in Ybor to speak of. There was nobody living in the jail district. And there was one mid-rise on the north side of downtown. That was it. Nobody lived in the area. And now, what's the population of downtown, the jail district, and the jail district, and Ybor City? 30,000, 35,000 residents probably. I mean, it's been a remarkable change. In addition to all the other development that's occurred along the way.
Yeah, my one thing would be to say, subsection transfer tourists that you guys answered, that these are residents who are using it. You can see the economic impact of the streetcar in the surrounding area.
It's huge.
The development goes to where the streetcar is. Gasworks is in the middle of the streetcar route. Water Street's in the middle of the streetcar route. It's all there. So I know this is under the presentation. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just curious if, like the private business has ever been approached for help to support this, because obviously they're the ones, the private businesses, Sparkman, SBP,
It's funny.
anyone along the route.
Well, the streetcar has its own special assessment.
Yeah.
Of 1/3 of 1 mil. And that's on all private property, excluding homesteaded properties. So that raises just under $2 million a year. So all those people are paying the special assessment. But we've actually been talking about calling on some of the Visit Tampa Bay, perhaps the Water Street Development Company, the Bennett Foundation. We're trying to figure out how to push our revenues up a little bit, maybe with some bigger corporate donations.
And we're also growing to our streetcar advertising program. I know people don't like to see the reps, but so they help keep the streetcar free in a lot of ways. We've also expanded now into doing station sponsorships. So like we have the Florida Aquarium on as a partner. All of that. So in the past year, past 1 to 2 years, we've grown advertising revenue by roughly about 220,000. So we're trying to hit the fringes of a lot of this stuff. We're having a conversation with the board. So we're trying to do the best we can outside of coming to you all for money. But You can only find so much change, in a cushion.
Do the cruise lines contribute any?
Nope. And neither does the board.
That would be a big one to get.
It's very annoying
Yeah.
and very disappointing. They did originally, but they were required to because of the PRI that they did to build the original redevelopment. But the current CEO doesn't like the idea, isn't willing to give us a nickel. And he's a hard nut to crack. We haven't even been to talk to them in some years because they just, they're just.
I think that this would be very useful and beneficial information.
Well, we do a lot of some things for them too, we make special trips there when the ships in port. They ask us to do things, but they haven't been very generous. Yeah, I had to talk with the mayor about it, of course. I said, can you help? And she went, "You guys are tough nut to crack."
Years.
Yeah, so, but we haven't given up, but the EBOR CRA advisory board is just, they've been steamed about it for years, and they have gone to the port board meetings and asked, and they've been blown up too.
You've gone to the chamber, Tampa Chamber for assistance with advocacy?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, we have a little bit on the heart side, but that's a good point, roping the streetcar in there and seeing how they can help assist. That's
I mean,
good.
they've got some,
Yeah, absolutely.
Are we making?
We have to make a motion, yeah, because we'd have to move the funding. Yeah, and you were,
Oh, okay.
Ryan is our newest member. So, yeah, even though Ray had to scoot out of here, thankfully we have a quorum, so.
Who wants to fight over this? Because I think.
you have the right word, you have the right words.
I'd love to make a motion to support a $233,000 request to fund the streetcar to keep it fare free and Tampa's downtown.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Just out of curiosity, why are you opposed?
I think a small fee would be acceptable. That's the reason. I live downtown, go to Ybor all the time. Pocket my pocket would be fun.
We were stunned at the response we got from the polling. People just very upset about it.
And I think.
And the degradation of services actually.
Something down a lot, yeah.
But anyway. So thank you all very much.
Motion did pass, 3 yeas.
I guess we'll see you in August. Hopefully asking for more of that.
Next up on the agenda, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is staff and CRA manager reports. Courtney, that's you.
Thanks, Courtney.
All right, thank you. Okay, I'll see you next week at Channel Distance.
Yes.
Yeah. So really, everything's already in your packet for your review. If you have any questions, I know Ryan, this is new information for you, so we can set up any time to talk. I can go through the stuff that's in the packet typically, but it's just the downtown TIF budget I included for your review if you'd like. And then also the commercial grants and the capital projects. So you may have more questions for me since this is the first time you're probably seeing these reports, but we have a projects team for the CRA and a commercial grants team in the CRA. And so they are who provide these reports, and I just try to stay on top of all this, but I always provide them to each of the CAC groups just so you can see what activity is happening in their particular CRA. So if you want to take a chance to review those and ask any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And then April Fool's Day is our next meeting.
Oh, fun.
We go over any of this in the orientation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a new member orientation, or existing members if you're interested, but But yes, the teams will be there to talk about the reports they put together.
Right.
And that's all I have.
So were we supposed to have a consultant present on the beneficial bridge study tonight?
Not
That was the last.
Oh, it said 4.
We're actually doing that in April instead.
Okay.
Because there were some things that we had to talk through with Swift Mud. So because of Swift Mud's easement, there's just another meeting that has to happen, and we were gonna have those results for this meeting, so we'll have them present in April instead.
All right. Any questions on the budget, the capital project update, or the commercial grant update? Is there anything new?
Question.
Mhm.
If the owner of an existing building is interested in enrolling some of their units to be affordable and receiving or applying for CRA funding, what would be the process for that?
It would be under the unit conversion.
Okay.
So if there's already existing market rate housing or units within a development, they can convert to affordable housing through the unit conversion program.
Okay. And that's on the CRA website.
I don't know if, yeah, actually you would just do a there's a button on the homepage
Okay.
called request for a pre-consultation.
Okay.
And then when that person fills out the pre-consultation request information, it'll get routed to B.
Okay.
And then B would contact that person directly to talk through the programs.
Okay.
Any new business?
Don't forget on 3/17, that date correct? I should have done this.
It was 3:15.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. 3/15, thank you, Mary Beth. Yes, 3/15 is River Green and St. Patrick's Day Parade. The Camp Downtown Partnership will be activating Chris Sampson Waterfront Park. The river will be colored green that day. There'll be a very large parade in Tampa's downtown. And it just kind of goes to kind of the transformation that downtown has seen over the last 10 years.
Dining's on 11.
Coloring is another one. We say
Coloring.
the word coloring, yes. And then if anyone wants, we do have talking points on the science behind the coloring of the river, provided to us by the aquarium and two other experts, in case anyone's concerned about the one evolving.
You can send them to me just because
Yeah, you probably get a lot of.
I am
people
gonna
on
get
ours.
all those phone calls.
Yep, we're aware.
Awesome.
Trying to get our beer tent this year. Get one.
I will ask Jalen Andrews about that. We've had a little bit of a shuffle. We lost Rachel Radovic is no longer with our organization, so there's a little bit of operation movement going on, but I will connect with Jalen to make sure, Jalen and Ivy to make sure that happens.
So John will have a beer tent.
We have in the past, we don't know if we can do it this year.
If there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and call the meeting adjourned at 6:43 PM. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Beth.
Oh my God.
As an official chair now, how exciting.
I have a problem saying no.
Thank you, everybody. I found out the protesters went home.
They did.
What about hockey games?
Exactly.